You know, we've spent the last 8 months sort of jokingly wondering what America would be like if Donald Trump were actually president. You know, would it bring the apocalypse? Would the White House be covered in gold? Would he change laws regarding press freedoms or, I don't know, incest? This weekend, I feel like we got a glimpse of what America might be like under a Trump presidency, and it was scary.
On Friday night, pure chaos after Trump canceled his appearance in Chicago.
Police physically separating Trump's protesters from his supporters.
They are not picking and choosing who is there. It is open to the public. There were some Bernie Sanders supporters who held up Bernie signs.
Protesters and supporters going back and forth so much, the situation became so escalated that there was the potential for dangers.
Wow. You know it's bad when people in Chicago are like, man, what a violent weekend. This is too much. This is way too much. And it was. Friday night was shocking. You know, I happened to be at the gym when this all broke out. And the conflict was so crazy that nobody in the gym carried on doing what they're doing. Not even Muscular Mike. Like, yeah, I know. Everyone was just staring up at the TV screens, watching all the fighting. You know, dudes were halfway through a deadlift, just standing, holding their mouths open. It was almost like one of those movies where an asteroid is heading towards the Earth, and everyone is crowded around watching the disaster unfold. And you know, Chicago may have been the epicenter, but by the end of the weekend, the chaos was everywhere.
New clashes in more cities.
In Kansas City, police maintaining order with pepper spray.
There were violent confrontations in St. Louis.
One raising her hand in a salute.
In Cleveland, a number of clashes.
Go back to Africa! You're an African first! Go back to Africa!
Really? Go back to Africa? No. Now look, if that was a TV critic saying that to me, I understand. But you can't just say, go back to Africa to any black person you see in America. Not every black person is from Oh, Denise? Oh, wow, girl. Oh, I didn't know you were coming out here. Oh, it's Denise. Derek, you should go back to Africa, girl. People are missing you. Oh, wow. Oh, small world. Sorry, where were we? Nazi salute, go back to Africa. Oh yeah, okay. The Trump supporters, you know, I have to say, one thing that didn't sit well with me was how some of the Trump protesters did their thing.
A lot of those protesters did identify as supporters of Bernie Sanders.
One of the organizers told me that they turned the place into a Bernie Sanders rally. The Bernie Sanders supporters that I've talked to think this was a huge victory for them.
Ah, yes. Trust Bernie Sanders fans to have an unrealistic view of what's actually happening. Sorry, was that a burn? Look, I will say this. It's great to see young protesters so inspired by politics that they're no longer just hashtagging their feelings, but actually getting off the couch and getting involved. But at the same time, you've got to be careful. You know, because the narrative Trump tells his sympathizers is that they're under attack. You know, that the nefarious, politically correct left liberal force wants to silence them. So if you come in and you actually try to silence them, it's like trying to put a fire out by putting wood onto it. You've given Trump the villain that up until now he was making up. And you're probably saying, what villain, Trevor? We're just a bunch of progressive college students of various ethnicities and like religions and gender identities. Exactly. You are the villain he's talking about. And here's how you know that you're doing exactly what Trump wants. It's in his script.
Go home to mommy. Tell her to tuck you in bed. Get him out of here. Get him out. Get him out of here.
Can I be honest with you? It adds to the flavor. It really does. Makes it more exciting. I mean, isn't this better than listening to a long, boring speech?
Really? Isn't this better than listening? Yeah, it is better than listening to a long, boring speech. Unless your plan was to go and watch a presidential candidate. Then getting punched in the face sort of throws your day off. Yeah, that's what that does. What happened to you? I was watching a speech. Here's the truth. Donald Trump didn't just create an atmosphere for violence at his rallies. He basically engineered it as carefully and deliberately as Matt Damon did when he was growing potatoes on Mars.
There are no consequences to protesting anymore. There used to be consequences. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? they'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Am I allowed to rip that whistle out of the mouth? I'd rip that. Well, if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. Part of the problem is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore.
Are you? Part of the problem is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore. Are you me? That's not a problem, that's civilization. Now I'm afraid to know how Trump views flush toilets and, oh God, we're back at incest again. I don't even know how we get here. Because basically, Donald Trump is saying he just wants his rallies to be like hockey games, you know? Nobody knows the rules, and most of the fans are white, and fighting is definitely allowed, which is weird, given how Trump has described himself so often in the past.
I'm a peace-loving person, folks.
Well, I'm somebody that is a thinker. I'm a big thinker.
We love peace. We all love peace.
Of course, Trump loves peace. Yeah, Trump loves peace. He couldn't hurt a fly, not with those tiny little elf hands. Who knew Donald Trump was such a hippie? I guess that's why he never cuts his hair and drops acid before every speech. He must be high. Those speeches can't be a sober thing. Come on. Like, how does anyone believe this crap? On one hand, he's saying, I'm an upstanding citizen who hates violence. On the other hand, he's rolling up his sleeves, bellowing about tearing down the system to a pack of followers who love getting into fistfights. Like, who is this guy? Like, this guy doesn't want to be president. He wants to be Tyler Durden from Fight Club. That's exactly what's happening. Donald Trump is basically running political Fight Club. And he even knows the first rule of Fight Club.
There's no violence. There's love fest. These are love fests.
You do not talk about Fight Club. And I thought I was just imagining Trump's split personality until an actual medical expert, of the brain, no less, gave us his diagnosis last Friday during his medical endorsements.
I've come to know Donald Trump. There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him.
Yes. Just like there are two Ben Carsons. The Ben who is wild and crazy, and the one that you never get to see. Hoo-ha, hoo-ha, ha. I'm so glad he's back. You know, in any other world, in any other campaign, having two faces as a charge, the accused would deny, because they know it would immediately disqualify them from running for the highest office in the land. So, Donald Trump, do you agree with Ben Carson?
I probably do agree. I think there are two Donald Trumps.
Yeah, and believe me, there's no problem with either of them's penis. So even Trump says that there are two Trumps. But the question is, what does the other Trump say?
I don't think there are two Donald Trumps. I think there's one Donald Trump.
You know, we laugh, but it's still more likely that there's only one Donald Trump, who's just a cynical, manipulating man, you know, manipulating his followers and his enemies and the media without any concern for what he's doing to the country. That's possible. That's probably the truth. But I do hope that there are two Donald Trumps, because that way he could go himself.